This episode is brought to you by HME Aaron's Fox. When it comes to fire apparatus, the industry right now is facing some big challenges. Higher cost, long delivery times, and uncertainty at every turn. But that's where HME Aaron's Fox stands apart. Built in the U.S. with a legacy that dates back for over a century, HME Aaron's Fox is redefining what departments can expect from their next rig. Their lineup of custom and commercial pumpers, tankers, and wildland trucks are designed with precision, craftsmanship, and purpose. And most importantly, they're available. While other manufacturers are quoting years out, HME continues to deliver trucks that are ready for service, bucking the national trend of the new normal. They've streamlined their process, focused on smart engineering, kept their builds affordable, reliable, and attainable for departments of every size. So if your department is tired of waiting and ready to put a new rig on the street, it's time to take a closer look at HME Aaron's Fox. Visit firetrucks.com to see what's ready to roll today and experience a company that's truly flipped the script on the fire apparatus industry. Hey everyone, Jeremy, National Fire Radio. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, a very special guest, Battalion Chief Patrick Wirkus, Elizabeth, New Jersey Fire Department. Chief, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeremy.
Finally.
Yes.
We had to reschedule our first go-around, but we've been chatting for almost an hour already, just, talking about things. And that's what I love, man. That's what I get to do with this. I just get to talk about the job. It's fun.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So give me a little breakdown. Elizabeth, New Jersey, you're a battalion chief there. 13 years on the line, right, you said?
13 years on the department. I spent 7 years as a fireman, started in Engine Company 1 and then into the rescue company and then promoted to captain, spent 4 years as a captain, did a short stint in Engine 7, and then as luck would have it, spot opened up in the rescue, so I went back there as a captain for a few years, and then been 2 years, a little over 2 years now, as an administrative battalion chief there.
So Elizabeth's one of those cities that I know about, but I don't know much about, right? Yeah. So give me the breakdown on size, engine companies, truck companies, size of the city type of stuff.
Sure. So we're 12 and a half square miles in that 130 some odd thousand people, at least that, of course, that we know about. And we run 7 engines, 3 trucks, a rescue. The city split into 2 battalions.
Okay.
And then we have a deputy chief as a shift commander. We also have a civilian EMS division. So we run anywhere from 4, 5, or 6 ambulances at any given time.
And it's fire department EMS?
It is fire
transport,
department, EMS, BLS
okay.
with the civilian EMT. So the firemen aren't on the ambulances, but we do the first responder runs. We'll go out with the companies, but we have the civilian EMTs as the transport units, and then 2 EMS supervisors are on the road that split the city as well.
When I hear 7, 3, and 1 with 2 battalions, right? I think about that is the bread and butter department for a lot of cities across the country, right? So that's what I love kind of when I ask people what size of the department, oh, we got 225 guys. We're we have, 200,000 residents, whatever it is. I love to break it down by how many companies because that puts it in perspective for me of sizing up the size of that department versus a lot of other cities across the country. But 7 and 3 seems to be a very common number for most departments. And when you get up to that size, you do have a dedicated rescue company too.
We do.
Yeah.
Yes. And I love the rescue. There's no secret about it. The guys that I'm sure will watch this that know me, my heart is with the rescue company. I loved it. My father was there, and he was captain of Rescue 1 on 9/11 when they went over.
Oh, okay.
So he was over there. So my the rescue company runs deep in the Wirkus family. So.
And the you guys, just for people listening, right? Because people listen from all over. You guys are directly across the river from New York City.
Yeah, we're a stone's throw from Staten Island. The Arthur Kill separates us, the Goethals Bridge, from us in Staten Island.
Right, just south of Newark Airport. A lot of people are familiar with the airport. Yes. 95,
So
Turnpike.
What a lot of people don't know is Terminal A of Newark Airport
it's yours.
is Elizabeth. That's our jurisdiction. So if you're flying in, you can start in Elizabeth and then roll right into Newark.
I was just there on Tuesday. So yeah. Okay.
Yep.
That's good to know. You know what? I knew that actually. We just did a project there not too long ago and they were talking about the joint responses and things like that.
We work very well, especially now with Chief Tom Weiser's act,
he's
right?
Awesome.
And then my father's actually a deputy in training there
for
ARF. So we have a great working relationship now. So, and we call for them. We just had a third alarm brush fire not too long ago along the turnpike. And I call for an ARF truck out of Newark Airport just for additional water for resources. And it worked out very well. So we go to them, they come to us. It's good.
But make no assumptions. A third alarm brush fire by you, you guys have it all. Like when you think about this area, right? Because I drive up and down the turnpike. I got to do it later today. Yeah. I drive up and down the turnpike every single day almost. And so I'm through there all the time. And it's not uncommon to see a column coming up from somewhere down there, right? Whether it's like Newark South, right? So, but when you look at your area, you guys have everything.
We're so compact.
Tightly packed. That's what I was going to say.
We're so
packed together.
Yes. I mean, between rail, between air, you know, the mall, the IKEA, that's
the water,
down there, the waterfront. I mean, you know, the port. It's nonstop.
And then you have a tightly and densely packed city, homes on top of homes, commercial with residential above. You have industrial. I mean, you guys literally have it all. Yeah. So, how busy of a company or how busy of a department is Elizabeth?
So we run about anywhere from 22 to 24,000 runs a year.
Okay.
And that's between fire and EMS. So there's no shortage of going out the door.
And then what do you get on a reported fire? What are you getting? 3 and 1, 4 and 2?
Initially, it's 3 engines, 2 trucks, rescue, battalion, deputy, and then on a confirmed working fire, we'll add the 4th engine company as the rapid intervention, extra battalion chief, and then the EMS resources.
The extra battalion chief.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would say most of the time the 2nd battalion chief will be heading that direction anyway, especially if
it's multiple calls, right?
Anything,
Yeah.
You know, so
Okay. Yeah. And then where are you now in the process? So you said you came up through. You're now a battalion chief, but I think you're on the admin side?
Yeah, so right now I'm on the admin side of things. So upstairs we have an administrative battalion chief and a training battalion chief, and then we also have an administrative deputy and a training deputy. And my daily responsibilities really run the gamut from anything from workers' compensation to sick leave to tracking injury to managing our fire prevention bureau with our fire official and 5 inspectors that are in there. I'm also the EMS liaison because of my EMS background. When I got promoted, the chief said, "Hey,
lucky you.
Do I have a job for you?"
Yeah, right.
So, So I've been involved with that. I also headed up our lithium-ion battery project.
Interesting.
Because of obviously how close we are to New York City and the micromobility device issue. So I've been working on that project, as well as anything that administrative tasks that need to be done. But what's great about Elizabeth is I'm not chained to the desk.
Okay.
So I still am able to go out and work on the line. I still am able to go to greater alarm fires. I can come back from home to anything major. I also serve as a deputy fire mutual aid coordinator for Union County. So what's great is I get the admin side of things. I've been in that learning process for a little over 2 years now, but it's great because I still get to go out and do what I love to do. So I get the best of both worlds.
I love that. But I also think, too, diversity matters, right? So it's like, you know, as guys promote up or they move through the ranks, right, you don't really want to lose touch of where you came from, right? And so many do. And I look at, like, I was just in, God, where was I this week? Peoria, Illinois, right? And the guys from Peoria, the training chief picked me up from the airport, and then one of the other battalions took me back to the airport 2 days later. And I had great conversations with them. And, you know, a lot of it circled around their upbringing in the fire service. And then now that they have a position where they can make a true impact on the department, not just a company, but on the department wide, they're loving it. And they're making a difference.
Yes.
That's cool.
It is. And I think, I know there's a lot of folks out there that dread an admin position, right? And don't get me wrong, it doesn't come without its headaches.
Sure.
I'm not going to lie. It's
of course,
it's with anything, right? But I truly believe that if there's a saying out there, if you're not going to promote, then who is, right? And
if not you, then who?
If not you, then who? So with me being on the admin side of things, I bring that operational experience with me to the admin side. And I truly believe our chief of department's phenomenal. Our training chief is phenomenal. They were operations guys, right? And again, now on the admin side. So if we bring things to their attention. This whole lithium-ion battery thing, for
Yeah,
example.
break it down.
When this whole started, and I got to admit, and some guys, I had some firemen even come up to me and go, we thought you were nuts. We thought you were just trying to throw this out there and say, hey, look at me and everything like that. But then we started having these micromobility device fires. And they were like, here's a guy who came from the line, who went to fires, and now is on the admin side. So I wanted to do something to benefit the department and to keep the guys safe and to keep them ahead of the curve.
Sure.
Even though I think we're behind the curve with the whole battery thing because it just blew up in our faces. But
literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
Trying to stay ahead of that. And I think we've done a great job. The guys, I think, have bought in, have seen that, you know, it's happening. It's happening all around the country. I mean, you'd be blind not to see it. So the guys have really taken it and done a great job with it. And it was just, it wasn't frowned upon initially, though, which is great. We have, I think, some of the best training that, not that we haven't trained in the past, but looking from when I first came on 13 short years ago till now, we send guys to training that probably they never would have had the opportunity to go to in the past. We've made such strides in 2025 to send guys out. We have more instructors in the department now than I believe in the whole history of the Elizabeth Fire Department. We have guys coming in to teach our recruit class in-house that are extremely knowledgeable in their specific areas, whether it's engine company operations, truck company, rescue company. The guys are passionate about it, and it shows. I'm pretty sure, I don't have the accurate number, but we have to be over 50, 60 instructors now.
Within the department itself.
Within the department.
Yeah.
The guys who have taken it upon themselves that want to pass it on to the new generation coming on, right? Isn't that phenomenal?
Yeah.
Right? I think that's just great, and it shows that the department is moving in the right direction.
Well, I think a lot of that, right, that comes from the culture of which you have built upon. And, you know, you mentioned your father, right?
Yeah.
He's captain of Rescue 1. You're very proud of that, right? It's a prestigious spot, and so on. And so, like, when people value that kind of storytelling and the people that have come before, and then, you know, you talked about your chief and other, you know, higher ranking guys that were operational guys. I mean, we need the right people at the table.
You do.
And a lot of times we end up getting the wrong people there. And when the wrong people are there, you don't make any progress, right? They stall progress. So when we get the right guys at the table, we're invincible. We're unstoppable. And I think for a department that guys want to better themselves by becoming instructors and getting the training behind them and so on, it will only benefit your department if your own people want to be bigger and better than they were. Yeah. That's awesome. That's powerful. Yeah.
It's kind of become the running joke. So there's a captain who I came on the job with, Dave Bialis. So when him and we're like a little two-man wrecking team, we like to joke around. And when we walk into the training chief's office or the chief of department, he kind of gives a what,
here we go
now.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yep, totally.
We said when we went to FDIC last year, I said, when we go back, he's going to regret ever sending.
Sure.
So he probably won't do it again, right? But I listened to Andy Starnes.
Sure.
I didn't know who Andy Starnes was before FDIC.
Right.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's awesome. Smart man. I didn't know what I didn't know about thermal imaging cameras, right? And the limitations to them and learning about them to the point where I brought it to the training chief and the chief. I said, look, we really should create a thermal imaging program here in Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Okay, run with it. How do we do that? So next week, I'm going to Charleston, South Carolina to take a thermography level 1 certification course.
That's cool.
So this way, we have the nuts and bolts of what we need between what Chief Starnes puts out, what I learned from this entry-level level 1 course, and we could put a program together to teach thermal imaging in the department. But that's just the type of buy-in that the leadership says, hey, you brought a great idea to our attention. It sounds phenomenal. Let's run with it.
Well, and that's exciting because when you have people that are willing to follow through, right, then that's where the growth comes from. And to be able to control it in-house, to be able to train your own people, now you take your thermal imaging information, you bring it back to Elizabeth, and then you go, this is how we operate, and this is how we'll institute the usage of the camera even better for the way we operate. That's an absolute win.
That's a win.
Yeah. That's cool. Talk to me about in the admin spot, you know, there can be those frustrating days, right? But you do have the opportunity to get back on the Fireground, though, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I take every opportunity.
Yeah, every advantage of it, right?
That comes.
Yeah.
I've had some interesting conversations. Like, did you really need to go to that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes, I have a feeling we're gonna have this conversation again. Probably.
Yeah. But you also need it, right? It's one thing. It's one thing to back up the guys or to be there, but it's another thing to walk up the road and get those smells of smoke and you know, have a conversation with the guys, even if you're not directly involved. You sometimes just need that mental check-in, right?
That's it. And again, as long as you're getting your tasks completed in the office and everything that needs to get done, right? And that's important.
Yeah.
But it's also important to get out there. And I firmly believe that, and I try to do that on a regular basis. And look, when I go out there, I get to see my buddies. I get to see some of the guys I graduated the academy with. I get to see some of the guys that I worked with in the companies.
You also get feedback.
Oh, 100%.
So it's like all the projects that you're working on behind the scenes that nobody appreciates, right? That's a given. We never appreciate what's happening in the front office, right? And so now you have an opportunity to see the fruits of your labor, right, happening on the Fireground. So when it comes to training or initiatives or different projects, you can see it come to fruition on the Fireground, and that reinforces your mission and drive and passion to continually do what you do.
You know, it's interesting you say that. I just had a refreshing conversation. I was working on the second tour not too long ago.
Right.
And I had a refreshing conversation with a company officer and a newly promoted company officer in an engine company. And when we started talking about decentralizing the Fireground and really putting our battalions in key positions and start getting that buy-in, it's always met with some resistance, like anything else when you start to roll some different things out. But I had a refreshing conversation with the captain. He said, I see everything you're doing. He goes, I appreciate
there it is
what's going on. And we ended up having a 2-hour conversation. Right. And a very like-minded conversation. Some things he brought up, I said, I never thought of that before. Right. And vice versa.
Right.
And again, it was a perfect opportunity to sit down with a brand new company officer and have a great conversation about strategy, about tactics, and about things that maybe they don't get to see on the other side in the admin role, right? Now, look, there are some things that, have to be kept in the office because of confidentiality and things of that nature, right? But to try to get them to understand that not everybody's out to get you. And sometimes maybe the answer is no right now. This is the chief of department told me this one. He goes, the answer might be no right now, but it might not be no in the future. Right. So, again, some things are outside of our control, but it doesn't mean we can't keep pushing forward to try to get to that.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point, right? Is I love seeing we have a standing rule where we operate that chiefs that are coming in from the outside, not your first alarm chiefs, but anybody else, any chief coming to the command post will have SCBA on, and they're expected to go to work. We put our chiefs to work, whether it's an exterior position on a sector, or we're going to insert them into the fire building or an exposure building and take over a division. We work that way, and we expect our chiefs to go to work, right? So you arrive ready to go to work, tool in hand, and SCBA on. Thoughts on plugging in white hats into the interior of buildings? It's important.
Need to be there.
Need to be there.
Need to be there. Now, let me say, and I say this, I've put it out there before.
Yeah.
Because I talk about feedback. Do we really need a battalion or 2 battalions on a mattress fire? Probably not, because you're probably going to have it knocked down before I get in there.
Right.
But I call that a non-dynamic incident. If we practice on these non-dynamic incidents, right? So, okay, I put a battalion. I'm the battalion. I go inside. Maybe I'm the Division I supervisor, right? On the mattress fire. You're probably not going to hear too much from me. I'm going to make sure the fire's extinguished. I'm going to make sure the vent is coordinated. I'm going to make sure the searches are being done. The company officers are going to oversee their guys. I'm not going to have to say too much, but you know what? You're used to seeing a battalion in there, or a chief. It could be a deputy.
Sure.
My father, 36 years in Elizabeth, he still went inside as a deputy chief coming back to fires, right?
Of course.
So, but you're used to seeing that role. you're used to, okay, I don't need 11 captains talking on the radio now. I have a battalion chief, so I can report to him, and he can report to the incident commander. That's that tactical gap that Chief Castro talks all about, right? So by embedding a chief officer, a division supervisor, or wherever, in wherever is the greatest area of need,
Sure.
you allow those company officers now to oversee those task level tactics. I having the chief of Illo calls it the opinion brigade out at the incident command post.
I love that.
And another one of my huge influences,
Right,
Chief
sure.
of Illo. I had him in NJCU,
Yep.
and you know, I went to a couple of his fires with my dad, going to watch in North Hudson, right? But yeah, the opinion brigade out front.
I love that.
We don't need all these white helmets out at the command post drinking coffee. And I know I'm going to catch some hate on that, right? But I'm a young chief officer.
Yeah, I get it.
Right?
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I listen to that feedback from the guys.
Right.
And they respect, for the most part. Again, you're going to have some guys who see it a different way. But I think overall they respect white helmets, chief officers, throwing on that SCBA, going inside, making sure that ultimately at the end of the day, they're going home.
Yeah.
Right? I went to Battalion Chief Boot Camp with Chief Ike in Pensacola.
Right.
The number one thing he drove into our heads in those 50 hours was your job as a chief officer is to eliminate complacency.
Right.
I'll never forget that. And guys thought, they're like, you're going to a battalion chief boot camp down in Pensacola? Yeah, I want to better myself. I'm new in this position. I want to know everything there is to know about being a battalion chief outside of civil service testing, because there is some things to know outside of civil service testing, believe it or not.
Just a few.
So I believe in making myself the best battalion chief I can possibly be. So I go to FDIC every year. I go to Battalion Chief Boot Camp. I go to conferences. I take whatever classes, and I listen to podcasts, and I read books.
Yeah.
You know, some guys, you know, go fishing. One of my best friends, he's the training captain. He loves to fish, right? My life is the fire department, and my family, of course.
No,
but my life's the fire.
100%.
Fire department, right?
No, I totally get it.
With you.
Yeah, I get it.
Fire, right?
No, I get it.
On my day off, because I love it.
That's what I do, 24 hours a day. But I am realizing that I do need to find another outlet as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I will say this. I think what's really important and what we have to instill into our people, right, is we always talk about knowing where to fit in. And we talk about where you fit in on the Fireground, meaning being ahead of the tasks that need to be done, right? So it's like, you know, if they're getting a line stretched here, we need to be on the opposite side opening up, right? Breaking glass, ventilating, right? Then opening up after the line moves through, like all those things, right? So we know where we need to be. You know where your positioning needs to be on the Fireground. In the firehouse, you know where to fit in the firehouse, right? The tasks that need to be done and, you know, that type of thing. If somebody's washing the truck, you chamois behind them, right? That type of thing. You know and have to learn where to fit in. What I would say is, and where I think a lot of the conflict comes when we start inserting white hats into the fire building to take over a division, is they have to understand where to fit in. And if it is that mattress fire, you might be there, but you might not have to say or do a thing, because you know that the engine company officer and that first 2 truck company officer, those 2 guys can handle a room and contents fire. They can open up, extinguish, right, and ventilate that room. They don't need you poking a flashlight in there. Hey, Cap, why don't you do... They know their job. And I think what we have to be careful of is knowing how to insert yourself into the equation at what level, at what time, right? And that comes with experience.
It comes with experience. And I would like to say that I'd like to think, and I believe that I've gone to quite a bit of fires in the last a little over 2 years as a battalion chief, and gotten a good amount of experience as a chief. And there's still more to go.
Oh, for sure.
I learn at every fire I
No
go
doubt.
to. We were just talking about the recent fire I went to. Learned something new there too.
Yeah.
You know, so, but having well-rounded education and that experience and training is key. And I put that in my division supervisor program that I created. And I believe that I put some solid examples, some goods and some bads that I did.
Sure.
Right. And I think that there is a fine balance between micromanaging and then being the adult in the room. And sometimes you do have to, if you see something going wrong, right?
No doubt.
You have to say something.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, we had a mutual aid fire not too long ago in a neighboring town. It was a second alarm, and was some hoarding conditions, a little tough to get to the basement. But ultimately, the guys did it. I think I said maybe 5 words, other than "Hey, how are you?" or "Hey, guys, great to see you." Right. But I think the extent of my conversations were, "Hey, this town, can you take care of the secondaries? I need a fresh set of eyes up there, and can you take care of it?" The officers coordinated their crews on those task level tactics. I just told them what I needed done, and it got done.
That comes from a level of confidence, though, right? Like the chief himself, the battalion chief in that position, has to have confidence in his own experiences to be able to manage that way, right? And then you have to know, hey, this engine company officer is pretty new. I know he doesn't have the tremendous amount of experience, came from the slow side of the tracks, right? Like, so you might have to supervise just a little bit more on him, right? But that's knowing your people, knowing your companies, and so on. I think that's where it is. And what I find in the fire service today, though, Chief, is that so many guys insert themselves into shit they don't need to insert themselves in. And that happens on the Fireground a lot too. And it's like, yeah, we got this. Give us a minute. Can we have a minute? Like, the patience nobody has patience anymore, in life. And then take it to a Fireground where things are elevating, tensions are up, things are happening. And I find we no longer get the patience we once had by our leaders believing that we're going to get it. Just give me a minute. Yeah. We just pulled up. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we just pulled up. Give me a minute. Let's get settled. Let's open up. This whole thing with like forcing the door, right? I watch all these guys, all these training videos, forcing the door, control the door, pull the door back. What happened to letting the room breathe? Whatever happened to letting that room settle for a minute? If we're popping that door and we're throwing that door open and then we're grabbing it and pulling it back closed real quick, we haven't let that room settle, that air change. Like, it doesn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying with that.
So it's like sometimes you need to just have a little bit more patience. And I think that's where confidence in your own abilities comes in. And when we have company bosses that are confident in their own skills and abilities, they'll promote their people to do the very best job, and they'll give them enough leash to get that job done, right?
Sure. And I think, to that example that you just brought up, I think that to take that a little bit further,
please.
Right? So, yeah, you know what? Can I let that room breathe? Maybe if I have a hose line in place.
Correct.
Right? And it's situation dependent, but that's knowing your people and trusting your people. Right. And if you see something wrong, right? Maybe that hose line isn't in place. The guy forced the door and is leaving it open.
He's got to control
and now we're losing control
no
because
doubt.
The rooms are spread. And
yes.
Now you got to say something, right? But if you're taking a look at that, all right, we forced the door, smoke's starting to lift. All right, I got a one-room fire. The engine company has a charged hose line, and I can get in there. Let's do it.
Right.
But again, that's our job as chief officers, is to oversee that. And I know some people watching this might come from a place where they have 2 people on duty, right?
No doubt.
Or they don't. So again, I understand that there is life outside of Elizabeth, New Jersey. I understand that. And I've said this before, where you might not be able to decentralize, or you might not be able to put a chief officer in on the first alarm assignment because that's not what you have, right? So then you have to do the best with what you have to work with, right? I advocate for chief officers as division supervisors, but in some places the captain's the tour commander. So
sure, right.
Maybe your training captain's going to be your division supervisor, depending on your staffing and how your rank structure works, right? But I would think in a majority of places, at least in our area here, we have the blessing of having a decent amount of chiefs.
Yes.
What I think the problem is egos.
Oh, for sure.
When I show up, so for example, I show up as a mutual aid coordinator in Union County, right? I'm not there to take over anybody's fire. I'm there to help you. I just had this conversation this
Coordinate
morning.
Resources. What do you need, Chief? I'm right here. I'll help you with whatever you need.
That's it.
Yeah.
What can I do for you?
That's
You're
right.
the incident commander.
That's right.
Right?
Surefire.
So I had this guy, one of my best friends, Roselle Park, right? Came from Roselle Park as well. He's deputy there. He said, "Can I ask you something?" He goes, "You come in for me. Can I put you to work in the building?" I said, "You put me wherever you want, pal." I said, "You need me to go inside and
Please
operate?"
do.
Well, that's what I was thinking in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'll put my
Yeah,
pack
you
on
don't
and
have
go
to ask.
inside.
Yep.
No, by all means. I
Right.
said, "But whatever you need." Now, we're going to put a coordinator at the command post because somebody has to be
Yeah, you
with
have to. Right.
Right. But if you need me inside, because that's where the greatest area of need is, then I'm going to go inside for you.
Right.
No problem.
Right.
but I'm not there to go inside and take charge. You tell me what your strategic goals are, and I'm going to fill that tactical gap so your company officers can concentrate on watching their members carry out those task level tactics.
Yeah.
I'm not taking over your fire. You tell me what you want done.
And I would agree with you 100%. I think as the size and scope continues to go on the Fireground, we need managers within the building. There's no doubt. And I agree, too, on a mattress fire. If we have the resources, it's great to have an extra set of eyes and ears that can hover in the hallway and make sure that companies are getting, coordinated tasks done, right? I get that. But we were chatting before we started recording, too, as it continually escalates. And now we got companies searching ahead of the fire. We're opening up. We got lines being stretched. Smoke's getting worse. Heat's banking down. Your company bosses are working. Yeah. They're not not many departments have, 6 on the truck, 5 on an engine, right? I mean, there's a couple of departments that have that luxury, but most don't. So if you have a 3-man company or even a 4-man company, typically your boss is working, right? So now things start to go south a little bit. He has somebody there that is cool, calm, and collected in a non-working, physical working position, if you will, that can clearly state the needs and desires of what's happening on the 2nd division or on the 3rd division, right? So those because that guy's up there pushing his guys. The heat's banking them down to the floor. Hey, we need a line up here now. Yeah. He's winded. He's trying to get on the radio. Now it heightens the communications, right? So that's where, really the benefit of a division leader comes in.
Well, that's just it, right?
Yeah.
It's not fair, and I believe this in my heart, it is not fair for the company officer to be responsible for their own crew and then try to manage everything going on.
Agreed.
On
I agree with you.
I agree. And watch what's going on. I need to make sure, especially if you have an inexperienced crew, you have to be watching your people.
No doubt.
And I can't expect you to watch every condition or make sure that the searches are being conducted or where they're at, paying attention to where they're at. Is the ventilation being coordinated? Where are they venting? Do I have the hose line in the right place? And then watch my 2 or 3 people that I have with me.
Right.
That's not right.
Right.
And that's not fair to the company officers. That's actually taking away from what they're there and are supposed to be doing. And that's where I believe that chief officers as division supervisors come in clutch. The other thing I believe is you talked about radio traffic.
Yeah.
Right? If I have 2 divisions, let's just say we got a first floor fire that might have extended to the 2nd. So I put division supervisor on 1 and 2, and I have 10 companies in the building. I've just reduced my span of control for the incident commander,
no doubt.
Right?
Right.
And so instead of all that radio traffic, I've heard that too. I tried to call for the line to be charged. I can't get on the radio. Nobody will shut up.
Yeah, Command Division 2, it's pumping pretty good out the rear. You guys making progress up there? You don't know which engine you're calling. You know what I'm saying? I agree with you.
That's just it.
Yeah.
The captains no longer need to be on the radio or those bonking on the radios. That goes away because you got 2 people talking to the incident commander, not 10 anymore.
Yeah. And all the engine company boss has to do is lean out into the hallway. Hey, Chief. We're having a hard time in here, right? Or, the truck companies, we're having a hard time getting to the 3rd floor, right? Face to face. It's not over the radio. It's verbal. Yep. You can feel the stress level in each other's voices. You're feeling the conditions. Conditions are getting hotter in the common hall, so they're getting their asses kicked in the rooms. Hey, we might need another crew up here quicker than we thought. I love it. Yeah, there's a lot there.
It really, and it works. Jeremy, I mean, I've been on.
But we never used to do that. I've been a fireman for over 30 years now, and my early years, it was not overly common to insert chiefs. We always had that opinion brigade outside, right? And I think that now, I think what's interesting is the fire service. It's cyclical, right? It just what was old is now new, and we just go going around and around. But I think what we've realized is the importance of accountability more than ever on the Fireground. And I think when you start looking at, the formalization of incident command, and over the years, we've developed this incredible incident command program now. I mean, you can't be an officer in New Jersey without 15 different incident command classes and IMS this and, all those things, right? But I think that's done for very good reasons. And it's because it's accountability of our own, too. And, we don't need the days of our people getting lost and dying for the sake of getting lost and dying anymore. And if we can keep track and have accountability built into the system, right? And I think that's what we do best today. I think departments across the board realize we need to have better accountability of our people on the Fireground. I mean, I remember years ago, it was throw a tag at the front door if you even threw a tag at the front door, right? And then you hope it didn't fall in the flower bed and get kicked around in the mulch, right? I mean, that's reality. And there's still a ton of places that still do it that way today.
I'm sure. And it doesn't need to be. It's history repeating itself.
Right.
This is nothing new.
Right.
This is nothing new.
Yeah.
The incident command has been around. My father's on the job, and he was,
No doubt.
right? So
It has evolved tremendously.
Has evolved,
yeah.
but it's nothing new. And again, it's still evolving, right? But I mean, listen, in the history of Elizabeth battalions, back in the day when my father was working, there was only one battalion chief, right? We've been blessed to split the city into 2 battalions now.
Sure.
But the battalion chief always went inside. The deputy chief ran the job, but it was just never really thought about. For the most part, overall, was to report into the battalion. He's right there.
Right.
He can handle it.
Right.
Right. We don't need everybody on the radio. It's just not necessary anymore. The other thing I think is important to realize with implementing the division supervisor model and decentralizing the Fireground is we talk about safety officers.
When you say decentralize the Fireground, this is the first time I've heard that term. What does that mean?
So that just means break it down into a manageable span of control.
Okay.
Right?
So it's not one central, you're breaking
You're
down.
breaking it down into groups and divisions.
Okay.
Right? In the greatest area of need.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just wanted to make sure I was clear on that.
If there's a fire on Division 1 and it's roaring, that's where I'm putting my first division supervisor. If it looks like I'm going to have a problem on the second floor,
Right.
well, then I'm going to put a Division 2 supervisor in place, right? And what I believe also is we talk about have an incident safety officer. And I believe we should have an incident safety officer. But
I agree.
that incident safety officer cannot see the entire Fireground at every single point, at any single point in time in that incident, right?
Right.
Well, let me tell you, if I put 2 battalion chiefs inside or 3 or whatever my area of need is, did I not just put an incident safety officer in that division
Sure.
as well? I've increased my accountability. I've increased my supervision. And now I have an incident safety officer to watch over that division.
Right.
They say everybody's a safety officer. You're right, but now I got a chief watching that whole floor. That's now a safety officer.
And his only job is accountability and conditions, right? I mean, that's really what it is.
That's just at these PARs. I have a pet peeve about conducting PARs, right? So
Talk to me about that. I'm curious. I want to hear this.
And again, we're guilty of this as well. Some things that we're working on changing and building out, right? 10 pounds of pressure 100% of the time. Chief Ike says that. I love that. I love that. So each company gets a PAR. Engine 1, do you have PAR? Engine 2, do you have PAR? And there's like this throughout the county. It's not just Elizabeth. It's
all over the world.
And I hear it, right? Engine 1, you have PAR. Engine 2, you have PAR. Why do I need to do that? Why am I spending 15 minutes on the radio conducting a PAR when I have division supervisors in place and maybe engine 7, 6, and 5 and rescue are working for me, right? Why can't I just say, hey, Cap, you got your guy, you got your guy, you got your guy, you got your guy, yeah? Okay, Battalion 6 has PAR with these 4 companies. Done.
Yeah.
It's all done.
Yeah.
It's done in, what was that, a 5-second transmission? I got PAR with the companies working for me on Division 2, and you can name them, that's fine. But instead of sitting on the radio for that long, why don't we talk about that? You got a whole division supervisor, a whole supervisor for that whole division.
Are you guys working that model? Do you try to enact that model more and more?
Yeah, so it's something that we're working towards. I have proposed that. Again, things that evolve, right? Things that kind of come to mind, and then as I see things, I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that one. Let's try this, right? So that is one of the things I have proposed in our guideline. I think it's going to be, and I hope it's going to be well received. You know, it makes sense, and everybody agrees it makes sense. So yes, slowly but surely we're rolling it out. But again, with anything, with change, takes a little bit of time, right?
Of course.
So we are moving in the right direction, though. I told one of the deputy chiefs the other day, I said, I heard you make Division 1 and 2. I said, and it brought a smile to my face. But again, transmissions were starting to get a little overwhelming. Guys were getting,
you can sense it.
Yeah. So again, he put his 2 battalion chiefs inside, said, you're Division 1, you're Division 2.
Yeah.
And
now go get a handle on this.
And again, it broke it down and went smooth.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Unfortunately, I couldn't go to that when I was watching my son at home. But I said, I was listening, and I said, it brought a smile to my face, and he smiled. So, the message is getting out there. And again, the more examples that you give, though, I think the more buy-in that you receive, because they see that that it works. And again, you'll have your naysayers out there as always, right? And they'll see it. I've heard that before. You're micromanaging. You're micromanaging. It's not micromanaging.
It's
in my humble opinion.
It can come across that way if you don't know where to fit in.
Yes.
And that's where the experience needs to come to play. Right, is knowing when to insert yourself or knowing when to be, you can either be an active participant or you can be a witness. And sometimes you could just be a witness. Yep. I'm looking at the conditions. Things seem to be getting better up here. Companies are working well. I'll be here, guys. Mm-hmm. You need anything, give me a holler, right? Not inserting yourself. And then there's other times, what do you need, Cap? You guys are getting your ass kicked. You ready for another line yet?
Yeah.
No doubt.
100%. And listen, I'd be lying if I told you I haven't caught myself a few times going, you know what? Maybe I should have taken a step back a little bit.
We've all been there.
Or maybe I got a little too task saturated on that one when I should really be having that step back and take a look at the whole picture. But what's important is you realize it, right? And just make yourself better for next time. Because if you keep making the same mistake over and over again, that's insanity, right?
No doubt. No doubt. And we're guilty of that in the fire service, right? Making the same mistakes over and over, not learning from them. I think we're doing better. I think there's a lot of talk about accountability these days and understanding that, what do you do with your mistakes? And, ultimately, I think we have to let this younger generation know of firefighters that are coming in that it's okay to make mistakes. Yeah. You're going to make mistakes. Oh, yeah. It's what you do with it is what matters.
What matters, yes.
Yeah.
That's the key right there.
Mentorship for you. Speaking of that, right? Mm-hmm. What would that look like for you when you were riding the back step?
I had a lot of mentors and influences in my life. To name them all would be crazy.
Well, I have to think your father was probably one of your first, right? Growing up, right?
My father's my sounding board. I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for him, right? I follow, he started out in the volunteers in Union and Roselle Park. I joined the volunteers in Roselle Park when I first started, right? He spent 36 years in Elizabeth.
But you grew up as a kid, like watching him run out the door, right? So it was like, it was just very prevalent, your upbringing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
the same way.
I was hanging out around the firehouse, I'm pretty sure the guys at the Fayette Firehouse in Roselle Park wanted to get rid of me half the time. Because even if he wasn't there, I was going, I'd ride my bike up there, hang out.
Yep.
I'd go on all the calls, ride my bike to the calls and everything. So for as long as I can remember, I have pictures on my wall of me as a little kid for the bike race days. They would decorate the bikes. So, my father made like a cardboard cutout, painted it as a fire truck.
That's cool.
So, it was.
We've all been there,
right?
Absolutely.
So it's important to me that I give back to the fire service because it's done so much for my life and my career.
You summed up what I do every day.
And I feel like for the mistakes that I've made in the past, I feel that, and the mistakes I still continue because everybody still makes mistakes, but I feel that by me getting educated, by me doing what I'm doing, is kind of giving back to that next generation, so maybe they don't make those same mistakes, right? And I think that's important, is to pass on what guys like Anthony Avillo and my dad and Drew Vignali, who's the chief of training, Sal Baracco is the chief of department, right? All guys that were around, Steve McConlogue and Kevin Preston, two of my first captains, right? And I learned so much from these guys. Chief George Chavez, he was my training chief, John Young, all these guys. And I still get text messages because they see me doing things like this.
I love that.
And they're like, we love what you're doing. Very proud of you. Keep going. Do what you do, And you almost get half emotional about it because it's like,
no doubt.
At least I know I'm making them proud, right? Some people might say,
there's always that.
Him again.
That's always that. And that's fine. But that's going to be there.
Yeah, that's going to be there always. But the guys that matter most, who passed it on to me and continue to pass it on, right? Because they're my sounding board. Those couple of fires we just had, I'm making phone calls like, hey, what do you think about this? You think I should have done that? Or was I a little too aggressive on that one?
Listen.
Right? I still talk to them because I want feedback.
But that's also how you're still feeling alive and loving this job.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I think when you stop looking for thoughts, ideas, opinions, running things past one another, right? It's nice to have that. And I was chatting with some chiefs the other day when I was in Illinois, and I said it was the fire chiefs state fire chiefs conference, and I spoke there. And at the end, I was chatting with a bunch of chiefs, like I always do, and so on. And I love these chief groups, these conferences, right? State Fire Chiefs Associations. I spoke at the Massachusetts State Fire Academy. It was 65 fire chiefs in that room when I spoke, right? Yeah. And it was like, it's such a powerful moment for me because I have the tops of the departments listening. So my message matters. And so my message needs to reflect what I think they need to hear. And a lot of times when I have a room full of chiefs, I talk about, don't forget about the love you had for the job when you came through the door 25 years ago. I said, if you don't feel that same burning passion and love for it, I said, it's still inside you. You have to go find that again. I challenge you because your people need you to still feel that way about it. I think when you stop inquiring to your mentors or stop talking or telling your dad a story or finding another chief on your level that you can talk to, right? When you stop doing that, I think it's time for you to start thinking about fishing.
Right. Or golf that I'm horrible
right,
at.
Whatever it is. But I think that that's really important. And it's good to know, in the conversation I had with the Chiefs the other day was something to the effect that it's good to know that they have a network for each other, that they can talk about chief things. Mm-hmm. Because you can't go out of church and talk about things that are on a battalion level or up in the department with a backstep fireman, even if he's your best friend. Sometimes you can't. You can't. You can't, or a company officer. It's not for them to know. This is, so you guys need your network too. Yeah. Yes. Super important to have that. Yes. So,
and I think those open lines of communication are good. And I think that you just brought it up, right? Some conversations we can't have with the backstep.
You just
fireman,
can't.
Right. And I didn't understand as a backstep fireman.
Totally.
I didn't understand.
I get it until you're there.
And I used to shit talk and say, those guys upstairs, they don't understand. I did it in the volunteers. Come on.
I get it.
What are they thinking? Right. Until you get in that position. I'm not going to pretend to know what the chief of department goes through because I'm not in that position.
Right.
Right? I know what position I'm in, and I know the experiences and the challenges that come along with that now that I'm in that position, right? What I think is important too, though, is having succession planning because the guy coming up behind you needs to understand the role, or the guy or gal coming up behind you needs to understand the role that they're about to come into. And that is a big part of some research that I'm doing, and not only with officer development, but succession planning, and so that they can kind of get the picture coming in before they come in. But then once they get there, they're like, oh, that's what he was talking about, right? And I believe that's an important piece too. But I remember you said in a couple of the podcasts that you've done, things that and your presentations, things that I talk about, I'm guilty of.
Yeah, I'm guilty all the time.
Right? Same.
Everything.
Things I talk about, I'm guilty. So I don't pretend to go out there be some saint. Things that I say, when I was a young fireman, I did the same thing. I'm like, I don't get this guy.
100%. Right? And until you're in that position, you don't get it. But you brought up something, succession planning. Mm-hmm. We don't do a good enough job of that. Think about it in the career side. You get on the list. I know you're on a list now, right? Yeah. You get on the list. Your number gets called, and congratulations, here's your new title, here's your new helmet shield, here's your new office, here's your car, and you go, now what, right? Yeah. Or a company officer goes from the back seat to the front seat overnight. In a volunteer service, somebody runs and gets elected for that position, and January 1st they're in that position. Where's the transitional period? Not many departments offer those transitional officer programs, right? Mm-hmm. They just don't offer them.
Yeah, I think that's becoming the new hot topic.
Yes, I agree with you. And that's kind of where I was going with this.
I think that's becoming a new hot topic. So I mentioned doing research, right? And right now I'm in the National Fire Academy's Executive Fire Officer Program. Right. My capstone research is all on not only the gap between civil service testing and a formalized officer development program, but succession planning. And I believe, and so far in the early stages of my research, I believe that we need to be setting up firemen that are on the path to becoming company officers. That's when we need to set them up for success with an officer development program. So it's not just, hey, congratulations, you came out number one on the list. Right. By the way, report to City Hall at this time. Here's your badge, and you're, like you said, your helmet shield, and go get it. Right? Yeah. Now, the civil service testing is comprehensive. By all means, you have to study, you have to read, by all means. But there are parts in my, again, humble opinion, that are missed, that a formalized officer development program in a department can really bridge that gap. And
it's the nuances.
Yes. And I believe that at least my leadership has seen the benefit of me going through the EFO program in just the research that I've done so far, that they're very supportive of.
Yeah, right.
EFO is not very popular in New Jersey. It isn't. And
I'm meeting more and more guys that have been through this program, though, nationally speaking.
yes. And
it's a massive undertaking and commitment, though.
It's quite
massive.
It is quite the commitment. I equate it to like going for another master's degree.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have the support of my wife, my kids, my family, forget it. It wouldn't happen. I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now.
Right.
And I see it as, again, it's more of an admin class. You're not going to go there and you're not going to get live burns. You know?
Yeah, right.
It's on the admin side of things. But how on the admin side, this is what I think about all the time. While I'm on the admin side, how can I best put out a product to the operation side to see that benefit, right? So I saw the EFO program. I'm like, this is gold. I'm like, if I can get into this, which is very difficult to get into.
Yes, it is. The screening's very hard.
Oh, it is tough. But I was blessed enough and lucky enough to be able to be accepted, and it's been a wild ride. I've met some great friends along the way from all over the country. And again, you talk about getting outside of your bubble.
Right.
Right? Hey, how are you doing things in California? You know, maybe not all of it can apply to me in New Jersey, but maybe some of it can.
Some of the guys that I've talked to about the EFO program, that is the one thing that they truly talk about is the relationships that are built over that program, because there's a commonality between you guys being in that class and living on campus and going all in, and a true passion and love for the job and wanting to better yourselves. But that collective group, I hear they become lifelong friends.
Lifelong. So your first 2 weeks in that program, focus all on leadership and yourself.
Right.
And you bring things out in that program that you might have not told some of your best friends,
oh,
right?
Boy. Yeah, right.
But here you are talking to people, chiefs from across the country that you've never met.
Sometimes it's easier to talk to strangers, right?
But it's amazing the feedback you get, and it makes you such a close bond.
Right.
You know, and then when you get to go back for your other classes, and some of those same people are still in those classes that you were in their first class with,
right?
Nothing better. But then the other great thing is you get to meet some new people, right? So some of the people I went to the first class with that I let out some of my most personal things, I'll probably never see them again. But I got them in my phone, and I can contact them at any time.
That's right.
And some of us still talk, you know, and we have the group messages, and we put things out there.
It's something you said, too, is, you know, you put yourself out there. You shared some personal things, and that, to me, is how you truly build friendships and trust. And I do it with National Fire Radio, right? I talk about full transparency and being authentic in everything that I try to do. You know, obviously some things are off limits, right?
Sure.
But for the most part, like when it comes to my fire service career and who I am as an individual, like I'm not afraid to share it, because I think that's where you get the connection and dial in. And I think that we have to encourage our people to be transparent and open with those that they work with those that they have relationships with, because that's where growth comes from. If you stay guarded and keep your walls up, you go, this is how we've always done it in Elizabeth. I don't really need to learn from anyone else. I know what we're doing here, right? Mm-hmm. That attitude, we're not going anywhere. No. Yeah.
And we do some great things in Elizabeth. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, no, for sure.
We do great things, but there are some things we brought in from the outside that have made us even better.
The fire service is so funny, because it's like every department feels like they're on an island by themselves, and so they have to tackle every issue by themselves. Meanwhile, a department 30 minutes down the road already went through that 7 years ago, and all you have to do is have a network to ask around. Hey, has anybody dealt with this before? Hey, we're thinking about starting a dive team. We're thinking about, you know, with all the flooding going on, we're thinking about starting a swift water team. Like, people have already done it all. Ask. Let them help guide you. You speed up the process. You don't have to learn from making mistakes that don't need to be made, you know? Yeah. And I think that for me in the fire service is one thing that's truly missing, is this playbook that we can all learn from one another. And I'm trying to figure out how to put this together. And this has always been on my mind, is that I challenge all these organizations I deal with, the U.S. Fire Administration, the National Volunteer Fire Council, all these organizations. I always say to them, where's the playbook? This is what your organization does. You're supposed to have your finger on the pulse of the American Fire Service. Where's the playbook? I'm trying to do this. Can you help me?
Right.
That's what we need.
Yeah,
And in the world in which we live today, like that's where I really think we can benefit from one another. And that is where, if you're willing to ask the questions, you're willing to say that, you know, the Elizabeth Fire Department doesn't have all the answers. We're looking to do this. Does anybody have? I guarantee you people will line up to help you.
Absolutely.
And that's what this job is about. That's what I'm saying.
They already have.
That's what I'm saying. But you have to be willing to ask. You have to be willing to check your ego and admit that you don't know everything and that I'm searching for something more. I love that, though, because that's where progress is made. Yes. Yeah.
There is, and I think I would like to say that the newer generation of chiefs, if you will, and even some of the old guard, I think have kind of bought into dropping the ego.
I agree with you.
I've developed a close relationship with a battalion chief from Perth Amboy, Danny Arroyo.
Yeah, I know. I just met him a couple weeks ago, actually. Yeah.
And he has his own training company as well, and we share a love for teaching.
Sure.
And we've had these conversations and text back and forth about, you know, guys are saying, oh, you're competing with each other. You're competing with each other. We're not competing with each other. We're lifting each other up.
That's it, man.
I hope his business thrives. I hope he does great things in Perth Amboy and vice versa. He's always promoting me. I'm promoting him.
That's the way it should be.
I don't know why we can't have more of that. And I think it's starting a little bit to head in that direction because we have some like-minded people now that are starting to get together and start to see the light, in my opinion.
I also know with the younger generation, millennials, they are open to conversation. They're inquisitive. They want to know. They want constructive feedback. They want to know what the expectations are. And so when you have people that are naturally inquisitive and want to know more, the ask of the why, they're asking why because they truly want to know why. They're not busting your chops. They're asking why because they want to know why. Everything at our fingertips is right here. So you want to know why? It's right here. If you can't tell them, they'll find it somewhere else. So you better know if that's your job, right?
Well, and if you don't know, you better
know
them,
where to get it, right?
You better know where to get it, but you better be honest and tell them,
100%.
I don't know. And you know what? I've learned that. I talked about one of my best friends, Bobby Scott, training captain, right?
Yeah.
I learned that from him. He was a senior man in the rescue company when I got there. And one of the things that he taught me was if he didn't know, he told me, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know that, but you know what? That's a good question.
Yeah,
right.
Let's go.
Right. You know what? Yeah. I don't have the answer to that. Where others might have just kind of pulled something out of there, you know what?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Well, that was the other thing. Some guys don't like to get questioned because that's just the way things
it exposes them.
Right. And, you know, that's one of my, I don't want to say it's one of my favorite things. This might come out wrong, but if somebody comes to me with a question I don't know, I really like to say, I don't know, but now I'm interested because I want to know.
Yeah.
And I want to find that out.
You know who would probably know that? Let's go talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it gives you such credibility with your own people when you could be honest and upfront with that, right? Now, if it's something you should know, then shame on you, right? Complacency's creeping in. You're not studying. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. Company boss should know, the SOGs on how we do this or that. He should know that, right? But at the end of the day, I think where we are today is in a really good place in some ways, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think that the ability to learn from one another has never been better. There's more opportunity. There's more networks. There's programs like this where I have great conversations with people that I hope knowledge and experience and information is shared across this platform, right? So there's more opportunity in the pipeline than ever before. And I also think too that the quality of firefighters today are much more inquisitive and they want to know. They're more invested. And I think it's just because we're in a, kids are smarter than, I look at my kids. You have dinner with your children at night, like my conversations are not the conversations I had with my parents when I was 17 and 18 years old at my house. My kids talk about things that I just look at them and I'm like, what? You want to talk about abortion tonight? Great. Let's talk about abortion rights. It's
I'm not to that stage yet.
I know.
Oh my
but
gosh.
Chief, this is real talk.
Yeah.
Our kids are better educated than we ever were.
Yes.
So now bring that forward to the fire service. These kids are coming in and they already have a true understanding of a lot of different things that you and I didn't learn until we got there.
Yeah, you're right.
It's different.
I'm not looking forward to those conversations.
No.
I can tell you my youngest is 4, and all he wants to play is what he calls dragon suits with me. So I'm still enjoying that stage of life right now.
Welcome that back,
But,
please.
You know,
Yeah.
I know it's coming, though.
Yeah.
I know it's coming,
Yeah.
and I dread it, but
I also had a moment
get
last.
what you're saying.
Yeah, and I got home late last night from working on a project, and I got home late last night, and my wife went up to bed. I got home probably by 9, and or maybe a little earlier than that, and then my wife was like, "I'm going up." She had a long day and early morning today, so she's like, "I'm gonna go up." I said, "All right, I just got to finish up some things for NFR." I was doing a couple things, and my daughter came down. She's like, "Dad, can I read you? Can I read you something I'm doing on the college essay?" And I go, "Yeah." And then I spent the next like 45 minutes talking to my 17-year-old daughter, sitting back on the couch and just basking in how incredibly amazing she is. And I go, man, life is good. Through all the chaos that I live, right? I mean, I was talking to you before about everything that I have going on, right? And so on. I still took that 40. I wanted to go up to bed too, right? I wanted to eat dinner. I don't even think I ate dinner last night, right? And I was like, and then my daughter's like, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" I was like, "Yeah." And that to me was everything. And it's like, man, I was like, you don't get those moments. Those moments are few and far between as they get older. And I was sitting there last night. My youngest is 17, and Lily was just like reading me her college essay. She read me an email she wrote to the college tuition guy or whatever it was. And it's just like such a proud papa moment, man.
Yeah. And you
Awesome.
know what? That just brought something for me, because my wife said it the other night. I was dog tired. I came home from work, and my son wanted to play.
Yeah.
And I was like exhausted. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you know, again, I just started this business. I have so much work to do. And my wife kind of put things in perspective. I was like, can you just spend a half an hour with him? You know, I know you have a lot of work to do, but he's going to bed soon. Can you spend a half an hour with him? You've been gone all day. She goes, I know you're tired, right? And it like clicked. And then just what you said, right? Your daughter's 17, going from before I know it.
She'll be in college in a couple months, and I'm like, she's gone.
Yeah. Before I know it, it's like,
Yeah.
Am I losing my priorities? You know, and
I don't think so.
I gotta be careful of that too.
There's a balance, right? But like I look at it this way too, right? Is like growing up, like I didn't know who my father was because he owned a family business. He was a fireman. He was a councilman. He was a mayor. He was all these different things. And so he wasn't home most weeknights. He didn't make every lacrosse game, baseball game, soccer game, school function, right? But I have the best relationship with him ever. And I look at him, what he taught me, and he taught me work ethic. He taught me how to be a good person. He taught me how important it is to go all in on your community and take care of your neighbor. And like, those are things that I think are missing today. So you're not going to make everything for your kids. And I think that's okay too, right? I really do. I think it's just striking a balance that when you're present, you're present. And I think about this a lot because I am super busy and I get home late or I'm traveling and away for days at a time, right? So I am missing moments. There's no doubt. But I also know that when my kids look at me, they respect me. And I also know that, you know, all that hustle is done for them. A little bit's for me because I need it. I'm a process guy. I love the hustle in the game.
Yeah.
So I need that, right? And I think I would be unhappy if I was home every night, just like a lot of people. They get, oh, I'm home at 5 o'clock every day. Yeah, but then you're on your phone for 3 hours. You go bowling, you watch football, you do this, you do that. You're not present. You might be home at 5 o'clock,
Right.
but you're still distracted,
Yeah.
right? When I'm home, I'm home,
Right.
right? And I think that that's what truly matters. So you got plenty of time, Chief.
Yeah.
You got plenty of time.
That is something I need to work on, though. You know, just having that
We all do.
conversation.
We all do.
Is, you know, I do get distracted at home quite a bit. It's a
course.
conversation I've had with my wife a few times.
No
now,
doubt.
You know, and again,
I'm
she's-
guilty, right?
I'm guilty.
Yes.
Yeah. And she still supports everything I do, right?
course.
2 o'clock in the morning, you know,
She knows
Hillside
you-
has a fire. She knows I'm getting up and going.
She knows
right?
you need it too.
Right. Right. But I do have to strike that balance. Something I've been working on, but you kind of, when you just said that, it kind of struck a chord.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what?
I got it.
Before you know it, Patrick's going to be 17 and talking about college applications. or whatever.
Balance is, I don't know what balance is other than balance in my life is 70-30, 60-40, never 50-50, right? It's sometimes I'm going to take a lot. Other times I'm going to give. Andy Starnes, you mentioned him earlier.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
withdrawals and deposits. He talks about that.
Does, yes.
And it's such a powerful program. And I never heard it put that way until he was on the podcast with me. and we talked about it, and we talked about so much stuff that I actually turned it into 2 episodes. One was like thermal imaging and firematic, and the other episode was like family and life. And he talks about deposits and withdrawals, and I'm like, man, that is the perfect way to like talk about what balance actually looks like in real life. You know? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this, talking about balance, division command training, where strategy meets tactics.
Yes.
What are we doing, Chief?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing.
Talk to me
I
about
don't know
it.
what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I started the, it's a timing thing, right? So I wrote the article for fire engineering for chiefs officers.
Right, I saw that.
Yep.
Yeah.
As division supervisors. And
Actually, I think that's what got me to send you a message to say hello. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And some people started reaching out saying, hey, would you mind delivering this material? Like,
Love
do you
that.
have anything?
Right.
And at the time, I was like, I just wrote an article, you know. But yes, I have all these things floating around in my head. So I talked to my father, talked to my wife, you know, and like, I think you have something here, you know. Why don't you do it?
Yeah.
And so I did. I started division command training, and we've been pretty busy so far, which is a good thing, right? A lot of requests coming in, and I just, again, striking that balance. I have EFO, I have the firehouse, so I want to make sure that I do, and family, I want to make sure I do everything right. But I have zero experience in business. We were talking about this before. I'm a fireman.
I get it.
That just wants to spread the message and
Totally.
do the right thing.
Right.
I know I've made some people unhappy so far with maybe some business decisions that I didn't even realize that were so ill. It wasn't intended at all. It's growing pains. It's learning. I'm going to continue to make mistakes. I hope I limit those mistakes. All I want to do is go out there and teach firefighters and company officers and chiefs things that I've learned and pass it on. I will admit that I am not the greatest business guy, but I am learning. I'm going to do better. And
but those are things you can learn, right?
Yeah.
Like I think about that all the time, right? I'm going through some hiring stuff right now, and I think about like the type of people I want to hire. I'll tell you who I want to hire. I want to hire bartenders. I want to hire service people, because they know you don't have to teach them a lot of times character, integrity, work ethic, reading a room, understanding people, how to have a conversation, engagement, right? I can teach you the skills. It's like firefighting, right? I want to hire really good people that have a strong work ethic and that are loyal. And then we could teach you everything else. I can teach you how to run a business. I can teach you how to do QuickBooks, have a spreadsheet, how to make relationships and not step on toes, like all those things that are probably a lot of your growing pains, right? And like when and when you look at that, right? When you look at that, those are things that can be taught. You have to learn the landscape. You have to understand, you know, what you have to prioritize, all of that. But if you're doing it for the right reasons and that you have the truest intention of your delivery, then everything will work out.
yeah,
I believe that. I think it's only when you skew your mission and when you put yourself first, and I talk about that in my program all the time. And I said, you know, it's mission over me, right? And it's that cliche saying, but I believe this, and I say this in the program, and I believe this. If you make a decision based upon the mission, you'll never make the wrong decision. It's only when you insert yourself into the equation could you potentially make the wrong decision, because now you're putting yourself above the mission.
right, right.
So when you break that down, you think about that in life, and I think about National Fire Radio. Am I doing the right thing? Is my truest intention to deliver good information and protect the integrity of the job? Yes. Then I'm going to make mistakes along the way, but at the end of the day, it's going to work out because I'm doing it for the right reasons. Period.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story.
Yeah.
Right? So one of my fellow mutual aid coordinators, he's a chief of department in a neighboring town. When I first started making T-shirts and sweatshirts, right, I was handing them out. Handing them out. And he goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, no, I had T-shirts made. You know, I want you to have them." He goes, "I'll take your T-shirt, but I don't know if I like your business model." And I was like, I guess you're right. You know, I said, I'm not trying to get rich by any means. Actually, I've put an entire amount of my savings into starting up this business. But it was funny, though. He was joking around the way he said it, but I'm not looking to make money. Actually, I'm losing a ton of money on this, but I am doing it because I love to do this. I love to teach. I love to talk about what I'm passionate about. And at the end of the day, you know, that makes me happy, right? And again, have I made some mistakes and learned? Like you said, yeah, absolutely, right? So things will work out as we go along. But I was just so excited to even get this going.
And
right?
Why is that wrong?
It's
not.
Yeah, I don't think
It's
is.
not.
I don't think it is wrong.
Listen, I leave so much money on the table every single day in all the projects I work on, right? I really do. And I've had people say, like, you could get a lot more for that. And I'm like, yeah, I probably could. Probably could. But you know what? I'm making enough on it. I'm doing okay. Right? Could we always use more money? Sure. You know what I'd rather? I'd rather have great relationships. I'd rather be able to call in a favor when I need it. I'd rather people not talk behind my back and say what a shyster I am or how I'm only worried about money. I'd rather people say, man, that guy really loves the fire service. I'd like to know how many people are going to show up at my funeral. That matters to me. And I think if that doesn't matter to you as a human being, I think you're doing it wrong. Right? Yep. Like, I want to make an impact. I've never met you before. Yep. Today's our first time getting together, right? Yep. And this is going to be a lifelong friendship. Yes. Somebody that, if I'm ever traveling through Elizabeth or my daughter gets a flat tire on a turnpike, Chief, you got anyone for me?
That's all you got to do.
But if I got you for $9 on a T-shirt and you felt guilty and had to buy it for me, and then I ask you, you're like, fuck you, I got a $9 T-shirt from you. You know what I mean? Like, excuse my language, but that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Like, that's the important stuff. And I think we get so focused on the superficial that we don't value what's right in front of us. And like conversations like this for me mean the world. I have a crazy day today. Crazy day that fell on me last night, right? With an issue that broke, and now I have to deal with it and mitigate all these problems and line up people and get all these things done. But this 2 hours today has been amazing. And I
took the time to bring me in, and I am very much appreciative of that.
Everything else, I'm going to tuck it over here. I'll get to it. But right now I need this. And like, this is the beginning of a friendship. Yes. This is a professional relationship here too. Respect for one another, like all that stuff matters.
Mm-hmm. It does.
I don't care about selling things and the materialistic stuff of it. I enjoy the legacy. And like, when you think about like what this job truly is about, like when you leave the job, it's the impact you made on it. You know, and when you sell your landscaping business, do you think back like, man, I really hope my lines were straight enough that somebody admired my work? Or probably not. I'm thinking as a fireman, though, the impact you made on the guys that you rode those trucks with for 25 years. When you walk out of the firehouse, did you leave a lasting impression? Did you leave a legacy? Did you make a difference? And I think some of the best moments in the fire service are those true and authentic moments that you're talking about, you know, you're sitting on the back step on a cold night, having a cup of coffee after a fire. Those moments are, you can't even put a value on those moments.
They're irreplaceable. And, you know, I wonder too, and I think about this a lot, is especially as a chief or even a company officer, striking that balance where I'll be honest with you. I'll tell everybody that's listening. I would love for everybody to like me.
Sure.
I want people to
Impossible.
Patrick Wirkus, he's a great guy. Right. He's a great guy. He cares about the Elizabeth Fire Department. He cares about the fire service as a whole. Like, what he does is for us, and love him for it.
Yeah.
I know there's people out there that,
of course,
don't care for what I'm doing.
Of course.
And I'm a realist. Do I wish I could change their minds? Yes. But you know what? As a chief, I've come to the realization, especially going and listening to people like Chief Ike and listening to chiefs like Anthony Avillo and Chief Castros, that sometimes you have to make decisions, and sometimes you have to do things that guys are not going to be in favor of, even though you're doing it for their benefit. They might not see that, right? But at the end of the day, I wish they'd be like, you know what? I understand why he did that or why he made that decision, and I can respect that. You don't have to go have a beer with me. Right. And I'm not a big drinker by any means, but you don't have to, or even hang out. You don't have to hang out with me either. I just want you to understand that what I'm doing is for the benefit of the fire service. And, you know, I love all the guys in the Elizabeth Fire Department, even though I don't hang out with them, or I want to do the best for them and bring that department forward, even though I am sure there are some guys there that, you say, talk behind your back.
No doubt.
And everything.
That's called life.
It's life. It's going to happen. There are people out there that are going to disagree with me.
Life is high school, man. You know? It's just, what do you do with it? And for me, I don't let that bother or affect me anymore because I believe in myself and I believe in what I'm doing. Yeah. And so, like, I'm not going to let somebody's opinion of me darken my spirit or not let me pursue something greater.
And I'd bet that more people than not tell you what you're doing is great.
I get it all the time. So and it's not like,
that's what makes it better, right?
Yeah. You know, to be honest with you, like, I love when people are super kind and they leave messages. I think where I get the most appreciation for the impact that I believe I'm making are the messages from people that share something personal or value my opinion on a situation. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm looking for more people to send me that, but I get it all the time. Sure. And if you ever have met me, usually I engage everybody with a handshake and introducing, and a lot of people are like, yeah, I know who you are. I know. Yeah, but we haven't met. Right. Like, I'm Jeremy, you know, and I think it's important to do that. Right. And I don't take for granted one bit. I take a lot of things for granted in life, you know, my family, work, health, all those things I take for granted. The one thing I don't take for granted is the National Fire Radio, because I know this was built on a lot of hard work and sweat equity and building relationships, and I work at it every single day. I can't take it for granted. Mm-hmm. I can't, because I hold myself to a ridiculous standard that I've never held myself to before when it comes to this. And that's wild, man. There's more accountability built in than ever before. You know, I'm getting back in shape. I've lost a ton of weight, like, being held accountable. Like, hey, if you're going to be out there talking about the importance of the fire service, you better represent it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Mm-hmm. You're right. Mm-hmm. I got out of shape. I got fat. I got lazy, right? I'm down 40 pounds. I'm feeling better about myself, right? Like, I'm getting better. I look better. I feel better. My stamina's up. Like, and then it's like I'm trying to ride in the back of the engine more than ever before now, instead of just driving all the time, right? Because for the last couple of years, all I did was chauffeur as a senior guy in the company. Yeah. Now I'm like, I want to ride the back seat again. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to we had a smoke from my house the other night. I was like, nozzle, let's go. Like, I'm taking the back seat. I'm riding, you know, I looked at the guy. I'm like, you're driving. He's like, what? I'm like, get in. I'm getting in the back, man. You know, like, that to me, that's the fun stuff. And so I won't take this for granted. And if I do, that's when I know I'm losing my way with it. But I'm very grateful for what we've been able to do here. I'm grateful for relationship building. Yeah. I'm grateful for people that trust me with their stories. Mm-hmm. I mean, I always used to say that to people at the end of the podcast. Thanks for trusting me with your story. Yeah. Right? I'm a steward of your story. And that matters. So I wish you tremendous success with Division Command, man. That's cool. Thank you. That's exciting.
Thank you. It is.
Yeah.
It's exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time.
Of course. And you're going to find your way, and you're going to teach, and you're going to do your program, and it's not going to hit, and you're going to have good days and bad days. And then you're going to change this, fix this. I don't like this. And like, I have found over this past year, I've done my Bridging the Gap class over 30, I think it was like 34 times this year now across the country, right? Wow. It's wild, yeah. Right? How many times I've given that. And when I think about that, it's different every time I do it. It's how I'm feeling that day, what story I want to insert, what the crowd looks like, who the crowd is, sure. You know, and so on. So, like, that's where you'll find as you go with your company, whether you're doing hands-on or if it's classroom, whatever, a mix of both, you'll find your style, but it's going to take you a while to find, kind of like the Fireground. You have to understand where to fit in and you know, who you are as a fireman. Right. You're going to have to figure out where you're going to be as a company, but you have it because you got the passion. You're doing it for the right reasons. And as long as you keep following that track, you're good, Chief. Yeah. You're good. Well, thank you, brother. Hey. I appreciate you joining me today. What a great conversation, man.
It was awesome.
It's fun.
Really.
Well, you know where we are now. You made it to the studio.
That's
so
awesome.
We're going to be doing more studio interviews, but the podcast studio behind us is almost finished. Yeah. So once that gets up, then I'm going to be doing mostly in person, unless the guest is far away. But thank you for taking time out of your day and joining me, man.
Thanks for having me here. It's awesome.
Yeah, Patrick Wirkus, Battalion Chief out of Elizabeth, New Jersey, Division Command Training. Where can they reach out to you? Where can they find you?
Absolutely. So I'm on social media. You can reach out to me at info@divisioncommandtraining.com.
Cool.
Division Command Training on Instagram, Facebook. That's probably the best place to reach out to me. But yeah, just you could search me LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Whether you search my name or you search Division Command Training, you got me.
Awesome. And then article not too long in the past that was published in Fire Engineering.
May edition in Fire Engineering, utilizing chief officers as division supervisors is in there. So give that a check. And I just wrote a second article and submitted it.
Good.
Talking about splitting the box in legacy duplexes. It sounds like that's going to get picked up. So I'm not sure when it's going to be published, but it looks like I got the green light on that one.
Well, I'm glad that they're picking up your content. And I'll tell you why. Those two topics are specific and you go deep on them. Yeah. And I think if we're going to make an impact in the fire service, we need to get back to the details of the job and stop trying to broad stroke everything. And I'm tired of it because so much of the training crap that's out there today, there's no value. There's no impact value because there's no details. It's very vanilla.
I say, yeah.
And we got to get away from vanilla and we need to start talking specifics again. And so good, man. Keep going, Chief. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, hang out for 1 second. I'm going to sign off. Guys, thanks for tuning in for another episode of the National Fire Radio Podcast. Like I say at the end of every single episode, take this conversation, take it back to the firehouse and talk about it because when we're talking about the job, we're making the job better. We'll see you at the next one. Jeremy, National Fire Radio.